topic number 41, sign magnitude used for representing negative number. So let's look at representation of a negative number. So in the previous video we have learned about the binary to hexadecimal conversion. Now in this video we are going to learn about the representation of a negative number in a computer, that how we can represent a negative number and what are the significance of representing a negative number in the computer. We are just going to learn about these things. So let's look at representation of a negative number. So in digital system there are following three techniques that are used for representing the negative number. So what are these techniques? These are sign magnitude, first complement and second complement, or we can say 2's complement also. Okay, so this is how we can represent any number. We can say in digital system we can represent a negative number by the three techniques, and that is, first one is the sign magnitude, okay, second one is the first complement, or we can say one's complement, and the third one is the two's complement. Okay, so let's look at the sign magnitude, that how we represent a negative number in the terms of sign magnitude. So let's look at, so representation of a negative number has been classified, we can say, into these three sections, of which we can say these three parts. First one is the sign magnitude, that we are just going to learn about this topic, and in the next video we will learn about the first complement, that is one's complement, and in the another next video we will learn about the two's complement. So we will first learn about the sign magnitude, that how it is going to represent a negative number and how we are just going to use it in digital system. So let's look at sign magnitude. So in sign magnitude you have to use leftmost bit reserved for the sign. Okay, you have to reserve leftmost bit for sign. So what is sign? So it might be positive or negative. So sign is actually positive or it can be negative, and remains is used for the magnitude. So in sign magnitude, leftmost bit, I am talking about the leftmost bit reserved for the sign. So sign can be positive and negative, and whatever the things remain for the magnitude, that is there for it. So we have to remains it for the magnitude, that is going to be used with the sign and the value. So in sign magnitude, leftmost bit reserved for the sign and remains is used for the magnitude. Now this is how we can, so here sign bit is actually, and it can be positive or negative value. So here I will talk about the sign bits, that for value 0 in C language it is called as a positive number, and value 1 in C language it is referred to as a negative number. So we will learn about this thing, that because the computer understand only 0 and 1, therefore we will use this formula for knowing the fact that the 0 is going to indicate the positive number in C language and 1 is going to represent the negative number in C language. So this is how we can use this concept for finding that what the number is positive and what the number is negative. Now looks at the representation of a positive number. Before studying the negative number, that how we can represent a negative number, we have and we must have an idea of that how we can represent a positive number. So here I have an example which is about a variable whose data type is integer. So its size can be, because we have studied the size of the integer, that is going to be 2 byte, okay, in 32 bit, and it might be vary in 64 bit, because 64 and 32 bits have a different byte approach. Okay, and it is storing the value that is 5 here. So actually, how we can represent this value? As a positive number, because it is a positive number, and we have to represent it in the binary form. So how we will convert this? Because this a variable is storing a positive value that is 5 here. So how we will represent it? So we will use the funda that is sign magnitude. Sign magnitude is saying us that if it is a positive number, then you have to use 0 at the leftmost bit. Okay, what we have studied? We have studied in a sign magnitude, leftmost bit reserved for the sign. So it might be positive or negative. Okay, and we have studied for representing a positive number, you have to represent or you have to write 0 there in the leftmost bit. So this is how we can represent a positive number. Because here I am representing a positive number, therefore I have to use 0 in the right, in the leftmost bit. In the leftmost bit, we can say left bits. This is the left bits, this is the right bits, and you have to use 0 for representing a positive number in the leftmost bit. Okay, so this bit is actually reserved for the sign bits. This bit is actually reserved for the sign bits. So it can be positive or negative. So for representing a positive number, which is exactly positive here, therefore I have to use 0 here and not 1, because I am representing a positive number. And we know that the value that is going to be stored in the rightmost bit, that is 2 ka power 0 into 1 is actually 1, 2 ka power 1 into 0 is actually 0, 2 ka power 2 into 1 is actually 4. So 4 plus 0 plus 1 is actually 5. So this rightmost bit is actually representing the value which is stored in the variable a. Okay, and we have also studied, because it is a positive number, 5 is a positive number here. This variable a contain a positive number. So for representing a positive number, you have to use sign bit, and positive sign is used as a 0 in the leftmost bit. Therefore, I am using or writing a 0 here for representing a value which is a positive number. Okay, so this is how you can represent a positive number. And in the similar way, you can also represent a negative number, and for representing a negative number, you have to use 1 here, because this bit is actually reserved for the sign bit, and sign bit help us for recognizing the fact that which number is containing positive number and which number is a negative number. So if sign bit is going to hold the value that is 1 here, then it is going to represent a negative number, and if the sign bit is going to hold the 0 here, then it is going to represent a positive value. Okay, so again I have a value that is I have a variable a who is storing a value that is negative here, and whose data type is integer. Because it is integer, therefore a is going to store the integer value. Okay, and a is storing a negative value. So how I can represent a negative value? I have told you that in sign magnitude you have to use sign bits for representing a number to be positive or negative. So you have to use sign bit, and this sign bit is reserved here. Okay, so for representing a positive number, you have to use 0 here, because this is the reserved place for representing a number. So if I use 0 here, then this number is actually positive number, and if I am using 1 here, then this number is actually negative here. Therefore, you have to use the sign magnitude. So this is how you can represent positive as well as a negative number using the concept of a sign magnitude. So this was all about the sign magnitude. So thanks for watching. धन्यवाद.